Well, some of you spotted it. Actually, I'm a little disappointed. I thought more of you eagle eyes would spot it. But in a recent episode where we showed off this landscape rake, yep, we have a brand new 1025R. We're going to take a closer look at that today, show you some of the reasons why we got it. And one of the things you'll notice is that there's no loader on it. It's pretty plain. I think we'll install the brackets for that loader today. We'll talk about what's going to happen with the last 1025R, the 2019 model. Yeah, we're going to be busy, but all here in the shed. Let's get started. If you remember when we did the 120R MSL versus NSL, the self-leveling versus non-self-leveling comparison, I actually bought back my old NSL loader. So I've had two 1 series loaders here for, well, I don't know, however long it's been since that particular episode. And because of that, when you get the loader, you get these extra pieces. So this all comes with a loader purchase. Notice those are all the pieces of the pedestal. The two that stick outward and then the two that go up. And you also get the loader bracket. I've really not had any purpose for those until now because I've only had one 1025R. Well, when we got this 1025R, we decided to get it without a loader. Most of you, probably all of you in fact, have no experience actually installing one of these loaders because they're almost always done at the factory. When we were at the factory, we saw that maybe only 1 in 15 or 20 came through without the loader brackets being installed at the factory. But hey, we try to show you pretty much every accessory or every add-on we do to the tractor, so we're going to do that here. Now we're going to start here on the left side of the tractor. And these holes in the frame of the tractor are square. This makes it good for those bolts. There's stuff in behind here that makes it a little bit difficult to get those bolts in. The middle one is easy. This bottom one appears to be somewhat difficult. Yeah, didn't take me long to realize it might benefit us to put it on the lift. Once I'm up on the lift, I can kind of see what needs to be loosened. Those are the oil cooler lines. The 1025R is the only subcompact tractor that I know of, at least of the popular brands, to have an actual oil cooler. Let's see if we can get this on. Washer and a nut. This top one looks difficult to me. There's a brace back here on the frame that makes that difficult to get in there. I admire those of you that mechanic on cars. All those tight little areas you have to work in, I don't know how in the world you can accomplish that. I'll double check the last of these torques. 232 foot-pounds. I decided that since these didn't have lock washers, that I would take them apart and put a little Loctite blue on them. So you can probably see it right around the edge there where I've taken it off and put this on. This is the Loctite Blue 242. Make sure not to use Loctite Red because it truly locks tight forever. You really can't get it off. At least with the Loctite Blue, with enough effort you can get it off, but it kind of serves as that lock washer. And on some other tractors, not 1025Rs, but on my 2038R and on my Kubota, I have had these loader bolts work loose. So it's important to check these periodically. And if they do work loose, put a little Loctite on them. Loctite Blue 242. Now I'm not going to put the thread locker on these for right now. And the reason is because these are probably temporary. I'm going to be installing a step, either from bolt-on hooks or from Mudd's Customs, I'm not sure. They're a little bit different style. And last time I had the bolt-on hooks version on the 2019 1025R, so I may try the Mudd's Custom one this time. But until then, I'm just going to put these on. I am going to torque them all the way down. I'm not, but I'm just not going to use the thread locker because I know I'll be breaking them loose at some point in the future. Getting them all pretty tight before I click any of them. I'll go ahead and click this one now. This side's going to be much the same, except we're going to put this single point connector bracket up here on the front part. So we'll have some longer bolts for that. Other than that, it should be very similar to the other one. I can get these bottom two bolts in from the inside, and that would make it symmetrical with how the rear ones are done. But I can't get the top one in from the inside. Secondly, these bolts don't have the square subhead, or whatever you might call it. I'm sure there's a formal name for that, under it. So I can go in either direction. So because of that, I'm going to insert this bolt from the outside. First, I'll have to go through that single point, and then into the loader bracket, and then into the frame. Now, if you want to see a complete single point connector install, I have another video on that. And so I'll probably not go through too much detail of that here. But since I am putting the single point connector on this tractor, as well as on the 2019 tractor, so I can swap the loaders back and forth, I just needed to do that now, so it kind of fit into this project. Okay, I remembered another tip from the last time I did this single point. The single point connector kit sends you some extra washers. Those extra washers, if positioned properly, will allow you to get the pedestal there for the single point a little further from the hood. So I'm actually using a couple of washers, and I'm putting them in between the single point pedestal and the loader bracket itself. Now you can experiment with that. You could potentially put, say, one washer at the bottom, two washers at the top one, so it would lean just a little bit. And I don't know how many washers they send. I haven't opened up the packet enough to see how many they send, whether you can do 3 wide or not. You will still have enough threads, even if you were to do 3. That's no problem. But I'm going to try 2 for now, and hopefully that will be enough. Oh, I didn't get a washer on the outside. 3 washers on this thing, and I need 4. And that's going to be an irritant too. I've already got my thread lock on there. Got my inside washer on there. Put another drop or 2 of thread lock in there. Back together we go. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing 3 times. Okay, same on this middle one. Well, I bet you're asking what's going to happen to the other Johnny. Originally, we were going to trade him, just like we have in the past. The folks at AHW have been very good with us, and that's what they proposed this time. They proposed that we trade the 2019 for a 2021 version, and we accepted that deal. However, we got to thinking about it a little bit more, and, well, Christy and I have been wanting to try. I shouldn't say Christy and I've been wanting to try some other stuff with Johnny. So we've got some, well, let's just say surprise in store for our 2019 Johnny. I don't want to give too much away about what we're going to do with Johnny, so I can't say much more. I'll just say I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be exciting. And you can kind of hypothesize in the comments section below. If you already know what's going on from some personal conversations, you're not allowed to say anything. That wouldn't be fair, would it? But otherwise, if you got some ideas as to what we could do with Johnny, let us know. I think we got some good ideas in mind, and we'll start showing those pretty soon here. The other question is really more basic, I suppose. It's asking, well, why did we need a new Johnny? Well, we, over the years, have tried to stay up to date. We held our 2014 version for quite some time, and we noticed in 2016, 2017 that there were model changes. Now, they were still called the 1025R, but there were just changes that happened in the design. We began to get a lot of questions in our videos saying, hey, you know, my tractor doesn't look like that, or how's that work on the newer model? And we just couldn't answer those. So we've long taken the approach that we want to have the newest model we can. around so that we can answer those questions, and so we can demonstrate some particular features best we can. This tractor's got 4/10 of an hour on it at this point. I've only had it a week or so. Obviously, we've still got the knobby tires. You saw it in the earlier video, and we ran it just enough to raise the implements up and down. I don't know, as far as differences in feel or behavior, there's really not going to be a lot that I can say yet. But there are a few features that are different. The biggest change in this model year, now it wasn't the 2021, it was actually the 2020 model. That's confusing of its own. We've got a video about that. If you've got a true 2020 model, it will have an LL in the serial number, right in the middle somewhere. Our last tractor is a 2019 model and it has a KK. This one is 2021, it is MM, okay? One of those is calendar year that it was built, and the other one is the model year of the tractor. Well, due to some delays, probably COVID related, probably not, I don't really know. I mean, I can't really estimate why, but the 2020 models were delayed quite some time. And so throughout most of 2020, they were shipping 2019 model year tractors. And that's why we got a 2019 model as late as we did. I think ours was even well into 2020 when we got our 2019 model. So starting right then, we knew that we were going to be behind. And so we began to plan, hoping maybe we could get a newer machine fairly soon. So 2020 model years have LL in the serial number. This one has MM, so it's a 2021. As far as I know, the 21s and the 20s are identical. Now back to the changes. The biggest change is the mower deck. This auto connect mechanism is more like, well, it is, I believe, identical to the 2025R, and it's much more like what's used on the 2038R. We'll have to check as time goes on to see if it is identical, but I think it's different than the large frame 2Rs, but it is identical to the 2025R. So the same mower deck now is used between the 1025R and the 2025R. That wasn't the case for the first 3 years of this later 2025R. You might call it Gen 2 of the 2025R. Another small change is the seat itself. I don't know how much different the seat is. I can't tell you if it's more comfortable or less comfortable. What I can tell you is it's got a nice embroidered Deere logo right up at the top. And yes, I still have the plastic on mine. Make these click. There's one, there's three. So I should probably talk just a little bit about the finances of this. We try to be transparent about all of our partnerships and everything that we do. The way this went down was AHW agreed to trade us the 2021 version for the 2019 version at a subsidized rate. So in that sense, the deal is sponsored. What we chose to do on our own was to buy back the 2019 tractor. So out of pocket, we bought that tractor at a fair rate from AHW. The result is that we own both of these tractors at this point. As for the loader, we had already repurchased the non-self-leveling loader back. Again, there was a trade that happened last spring, whenever it was, where they traded us the self-leveling for the non-self-leveling, and then after some consideration, we chose to buy the non-self-leveling loader back. So we already had that. There is some subsidy in this because they gave us a very favorable deal on the trade. But we have a lot of skin in the game, so it's not like we got a free tractor, okay? And we've never received, quote, a free tractor from John Deere or anyone, but it has been at times some degree of subsidy. We've talked to you about the rental arrangements that have gone on the 2 Series, 5 Series, and Gator. We'll update you on that as the future unfolds on that. But for now, just an update on the 1025R. We own 2 of them. We got a bit of a subsidy to make this last trade, And that was done by our local AHW John Deere dealer. So, just transparent as I can be on that. Okay, we've still got to put this loader bracket on. But before we do that, I want to show you what I consider a fairly major difference between the earlier models, all the way back to the 2012 26R, 1026R. But anyway, all the 1 Series all the way back, there's been a change here. Again, it's related to the mower deck. So these brackets in here are different and they're thicker, okay? And then there's a removable piece. I mention this because you have to handle some things differently now, and I would say for the negative, unless I'm not understanding everything. If you want to put the front quick hitch on, first you have to remove this. This is a new removable bracket, right? This goes with the mower deck, and it is removable. Now, the earlier models have a particular bracket that you add in here for quick hitch compatibility. This one doesn't. This one has a slot back here that looks like it would be perfect for us. So we've got the hole up here where the rod comes through. See it right above the camera there. And then we've got the slot back here. So for a moment, let's don't consider this steering rod here, but this looks like it ought to do what we need to do. Now this is the piece we need to put in there. Notice this rod sticks out here, which I think should go into that slot. And then we have a hole up front, which is where this goes into. By the way, this is essentially 4 inches center to center on these two, and so is this. So it really looks like this is supposed to just fit in there, go in that slot in this hole. Unfortunately, it does not fit. This is 1/8 of an inch, maybe 3/16 of an inch too wide, because they've made these brackets in here a bit wider. They're 1/2 inch brackets now, 1/2 inch thick steel. They were 3/8 before, maybe even a little bit narrower, I don't know. But you also doubled up the quick hitch. The quick hitch brackets were different. So I decided to test my theory that these slots here and this hole was right by getting another quick hitch compatible attachment. This is my weight bracket from Heavy Hitch. Now I did show you that this steering rod is pretty much in the way, and I had to kind of fight with this to get it up through there. But once I do that, sure enough, my old quick hitch weight bracket fits in there fine. It uses those rear slots and that front slot perfectly. So that almost has to be the intent of those slots back there. You can see I have to fight that a little bit, tear up the paint on my brand new tractor to get that off, so that's not optimal. The difference in widths here is minimal. This one is about 11 7/8, maybe a 32nd more than that, whatever that would be. This one is 12 3/16, so we're not much different. And that leads me to a question for you, the viewers. Has anyone bought a quick hitch attach blade, or at least this piece, say a blade, a snowblower, anything in the last few months? I'm interested in knowing the width of this piece. We checked, I checked with my service manager at my local AHW dealer. This same part number is specified today to be used with the newer machines, and I'm just wondering if they've modified the part a little bit. Again, mine is 12 3/16 right above this welded pin, and if it were 11 7/8, it would work, and it would work well. The only way that it might not work is if I can't get it to fit in behind that steering rod, and I believe if I steer it, turn it all the way, that rod goes backwards. It's more this direction actually, but the rod goes backwards far enough to allow this to slide up through there. So just to go back on with this, There's lots of different pins and slots and holes here, so it's a little bit confusing. But that one goes through those holes right in the middle there to make the connection. So we're back to working on the brush guard for the loader. And just this little exercise we went through here of showing how the quick hitch is changed and works differently. That's one of the reasons, probably some of the main reason, that I wanted one of these newer machines, is so that I can share this information with you. If it's your first tractor, you may not care. Although you probably will, because you may get one of those quick attach blades or blowers or brooms, or maybe the weight bracket like I've got. And you ask somebody, you say, well, how do I get it all to work together? And people will say, oh, just put all 3 brackets in here at the same time. That's how you do it. And you say, that doesn't work. Of course, it doesn't work on this machine, but they don't know that, you don't know that, and everybody's just got their wires disconnected, right? We're all working on slightly different machines, and it's on something that we would think would not change, or at least would not change without some manufacturer support that it is changing. And that's kind of what's happened in this case. There's been, no actual discussion about this change and exactly the details of it. Now, I have seen on some forums, some discussion that there is a change. Heavy Hitch has voiced some concern whether their bracket would work. As you saw, it works on my machine. That's, by the way, a typical software guy statement. It works on my machine. But anyway, the regular quick hitch pieces that I need for my blade do not work. So I've got to find a solution to that. Maybe remanufacture that one, maybe swap these out each season. I don't know. That's not attractive, is it? So the brush guard comes with longer bolts. It also comes with these. So we will put a bolt and then a spacer. Should I use the original nuts, which are flange nuts, or should I use the new nuts, which are not flange nuts? I'm going with the originals. I like the flange nuts best. I will slide that in. One side is on, bolt, then spacer. You can see now that we're putting this brush guard on, what a pain this would be if we have to take these mower brackets off each season and replace them with the other quick hitch brackets. So I'm going to be an optimist for once and assume that adapter bracket has been slightly changed so that it will fit. And now I have 4 bolts, 4 nuts left over. Hey, that brings up another idea. Let me show you something. For the last who knows how many years, this has been my hex bolt assortment. Now, it's emptier now, but yeah, like I'll ever need that. But this is how I've stored them. Oh, I need a bolt. Just scratch around like that, right? For a long time, I've wanted a better solution. Not only have I wanted better storage, I've also wanted a good selection here. We are about 25 minutes, 20 minutes from Menards. It's really not that far, and Lowe's is just as far. There really isn't a very good place to buy bolts any closer. It's not that far, but it's just hard to get there. A lot of times I'm working on a project and I find I need a bolt and I need it now. So I want to show you this. I don't know how the lighting is in here. This is my new bolt collection. So here's an example. We have in this bag some metric and some SAE or English bolts. The SAE bolts are gold plated. I don't know what color, I don't know what kind of plating they really call that off the top of my head. And then the metric ones are zinc plated. At first it seems really odd to have both SAE and metric in the same bag, and I might agree with that. In fact, in the long term, I'm not even sure that's the right way to do this, but I want to explain why I've chosen this approach And I've actually worked with a partner to build this kit because I think it's something that since I wanted it, you might want it. I've been eyeballing the bolt kits from all these big major manufacturers of bolts, or I don't know, resellers of bolts, whatever. Some examples, usboltkit.com, nationalboltkit.com. Well, I've just been drooling over having a selection of bolts. But they've been entirely too expensive for me, and I would think for most homeowners, most kind of do-it-yourself guys, they're too expensive. And when I say too expensive, I'm not necessarily saying too expensive per bolt for the selection that you get. I suspect it's about the most efficient way that you can possibly get bolts. But what I saw is that when you would look at, say, the 1/4 inch sizes, the small sizes in their kits, there might be 200 1/4 20 by 3/4 and another 200 1/4 20 by, ones, and I mean, maybe even 300, and then maybe 600 1/4 inch nuts. And I looked at those volumes and I said, I don't have any use for that in my whole life. There's no way I'll use that volume of 1/4 inch bolts. So while it may be the most efficient approach to be able to provide a good selection of bolts, it seems like overall it might not be the most efficient for me being the small customer. So what I saw in their 5,000 or 7,000 piece kits, you would get a coarse threaded SAE kit that would have 5,000 or 7,000 pieces in it, and it would be in the $700 range, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. And it would have either one 72-hole bin or maybe two 40-hole bins with it. And so if you wanted metrics along with that, you had to buy another set of 5,000 or 7,000 pieces to have that selection. If you wanted fine threads, you needed to buy yet another kit, right? If you wanted fine thread metrics, you needed yet another kit. If you wanted to have two different grades of bolts, grades 5, grades 8, you'd have to buy separate kits. Well, on that last one, I kind of decided that if I bought grade 8 bolts, that would be acceptable to me. And if I need an occasional soft bolt, like a shear bolt, I'll just buy those separately and understand that that's kind of a special need. So I began looking for a partner that would actually build something to my specification here. And Heavy Hitch, I was just talking to the owner of Heavy Hitch one day, and he said, that's exactly what I want. So we began to craft this together. And what we're using is a single 72-hole bin. And the reason we're using one bin instead of multiple bins is because they're expensive. They're, I believe, over $200 just for the bin, right? And so that, if we start doing separate bins, not only do they take up a lot of space, that adds a lot to the price of our overall kit. And what I suggested was maybe we could put multiple bolts, multiple categories in the same bin. Now, Heavy Hitch and I have just a little bit of a difference of opinion on how that should best be laid out. I kind of think that I could handle different length bolts of the same diameter in the same bin. So 2-inch bolts, 3-inch bolts, maybe even 4-inch bolts all in the same bin because I'm not going to have a very big quality. But Heavy Hitch took the approach that since the SAE bolts are all gold colored and the metric bolts are all zinc colored, that they would divide them that way. So each plastic bag comes from Heavy Hitch with 3/8 by 1 inch, and then this is M10 by 30, put in the same bag. Now I haven't got these all out of the bag yet because I still wasn't sure how I was going to divide them up. For now, I've left them with their approach. This particular column here is empty. There are no 7/16 bolts in this kit at present. The 7/16 bolts that I have are some that have come from other projects, right? Other places. Hey, that was what brought this all up. I have these 4 extra bolts and 4 extra nuts. What do I do with them? Well, now that I have a bolt bin, I've got a spot for them, and I can find, the appropriate size here and put them in there. So some of the bolts kind of become self-populating because you end up acquiring some as you install different kits, or you replace things. You end up actually gaining some bolts at times. So for me, part of this bin business was just to have some organization that I can put these in. This kit just has a few bolts of each size, especially the bigger sizes. So example here is 3/4 by 3. We have, I believe, 4 of them. And the same with the N16 by 70, we have 4 of those. So my overall objective by kind of working with these guys was to be able to get essentially the same selection as 2 of the kits from these majors for about the same price. Now, I'm not going to try to hide anything. We're not getting the bolts per piece as cheaply to you as you would by buying those kits. But the idea is that for $600 or $700, I don't exactly know the price of this kit now. Again, with the supply chain issues and the prices all around, it's hard for me to ever quote any prices. But about the same price as one of those kits from those majors that I've mentioned, you can get double the selection. Not double the quantity, but double the selection. For instance, this kit is coming with English and metric, coarse thread, the hardest bolt steel, 10.9 and grade 8, and 172 hole bin. It also comes with stickers. I don't have them on here again because I'm still trying to debate exactly how I'm going to divide up my bolts. I know I've shared this too long, but I'm passionate about this. I think there will be some of you that will love this kit and would not have considered purchasing simply because you just didn't need all that from the majors, right? So let us know in the comments if you think this is a reasonable compromise, something that you might be interested in. It's not cheap, but the idea is that you can get just a few bolts, and then if you find that you're using a particular size, you can replace those either by getting them online in a quantity. Let's say you use the first 4 of these 3/4 by 3s very quickly. You could go order several pounds of 3/4 by 3 and fill up that bin so that you would have what you need in the future. I don't think you'll need that size, but you get my point. Let us know in the comments what you think. This was purely my idea, so if it was bad, just let me know. I don't care. We're just trying to help. If you do buy them from HeavyHitch.com, be sure to use coupon code TTWT, just like everything else on their site. Again, I'm not trying to sell it here. I'm more just trying to solve my own problems and hopefully maybe your problem. It's beginning to look a little bit more like a real Johnny with the loader parts on it now. I haven't got the rest of the single point put on yet. I rambled too long talking about bolts. Sorry about that. I'll just do the single point later, maybe off camera, maybe on camera, who knows what. But if you want to see the single point connection, full installation, we have one of those in an earlier episode, but you can search single point connector and you should be able to find that. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. It's getting to be wintertime. We're going to be spending some more time in the shop. I still got a lot of repair work, a lot of maintenance work, items like this that are kind of fun, hopefully a little bit informative. So we'll be doing a lot of that throughout the fall and winter. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim.
Listen, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but we will all be changed in a flash, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed.
My cat sounds like it's like, in distress. But truth is, it's just lonely. What's the matter? Oh, you just need a little scratching. Now that is spoiled.